everybody. Welcome back to the Keep It Simple podcast. This is episode 8. It's hard to believe we've been at this for 8 weeks, but today is a special day. One of my very best friends, Hayden Martin, is on the show today. Hayden is an inspiration to so many. He has the heart of a lion and a never give up attitude. And with his Westlake Outfitters work, he encourages others to get outdoors. And so a lot of you are familiar with Hayden from an earlier episode way back in season 1 of the Simplify podcast. That episode is no longer up or available. So for some of you, a few things today may be redundant, but for many of you, it'll be brand new. Hayden, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for making time and for coming on, brother.
I'm excited to be here. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, excited to have you. So just kind of starting at the beginning, for those that don't know, you have been diagnosed with FSHD. And if you don't mind, just kind of explain to us what is FSHD? How does it affect you?
Absolutely. FSHD, muscular dystrophy, is Facioscapulohumeral dystrophy, and essentially is a muscle wasting disease, a chronic wasting disease where it affects my upper body, my face, and the upper legs and my ankles. And so what it does is essentially I can't grow any muscle, but my muscle will gradually weaken over time. And it's been progressive. It's not like it was all of a sudden. It has come in stages, whereas like it first was noticeable when I was 6 years old when I was diagnosed. But then from then on, from 6 years old to about when I was 12, I had a pretty much normal childhood in terms of what I was able to do. But then 12 was the first step where it really started affecting me. And then about senior year again, then a little bit in college, and then just recently at age 29, 30, it really started to kind of progress a little more. So it's just been in spurts here and there.
Okay. So one thing that is so remarkable to me, so you are a black belt is it Taekwondo? Have I got that right?
Yeah, it's in Taekwondo.
Yeah, Taekwondo, black belt, have lived literally all over the world. Eagle Scout, played baseball as a boy, an all-star baseball player. And so, even, in your formative years, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, never did slow down. At 12, what began to happen? You said, you were diagnosed at 6, but there really wasn't a big change until 12. What happened around 12?
Yeah, when I was 12, I started falling a lot. And it was just, we first thought it was my knees. So we were doing like just different knee braces, different orthopedics, just stuff like that, because we thought it was my knees, and we didn't realize, until later on that it was actually my upper legs that were starting to get weaker because I was losing the ability to run.
Gotcha. So the tripping in that then led you to seek help, to seek out specialists, or what was the natural progression in that, I guess? We saw a couple of specialists, got fitted for a leg brace. I remember that was awkward as all get out, just because really? Having my legs handled in a way that I wasn't used to, and then having this big plastic thing on my leg just to see if it was going to work. That was not the move. Then we just tried some different ankle and knee braces from Academy, just to see like what would work best. And we found a couple that worked, where you tie it into your shoe and then the laces come up and wrap around your ankle to help keep the ankle from tripping over itself. Gotcha. Great. And so then high school years for sure. I know you were super, super active in band. I mean, band was kind of a centerpiece of your life. Is that right?
Yeah, especially marching band during football season. That was where it was at.
Yeah. And some of your best friends, I mean, even to this day, a lot of your best friends were through marching band.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everyone that's going to be in my wedding, that's going to be up there. They're from marching band. And really, band is it was such a good time in my life. And
Mm-hmm.
like you said, I've kept such good friendships from that time all the way to now. And, that's 16 years or so. And just to have that to this day, I couldn't be more thankful for those guys and who they are and who they mean to me, what they mean to me. And then just,
Mm-hmm.
even though we're spread out throughout the United States, just the fact that through technology like this, we're able to keep in touch and talk. And even though it's not every day because we all have families, we're just able to check in on each other, make sure we're okay. And at least once, maybe twice a year, we try to get together anywhere we can and just kind of have a weekend and have some fun.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And so, what all did you play in marching band? I know you played several instruments.
Yeah, I was in the fun ensemble,
Hmm.
and I played the xylophone my freshman year. It's a mallet instrument. And
Hmm.
then my sophomore through senior year, I played the timpani, which are the big kettle drums that
Yeah, yeah,
really echo and resonate throughout the whole entire field.
yeah, 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 yeah. Wick. So my oldest played. He was in the pit in that front ensemble and played the. Now I used to call it the xylophone, and he would correct me. It was something else. I don't remember what he called it, but
Yeah,
maroomba or something maybe. Every time I would say xylophone, he would correct me.
yeah, the marimba
Um,
is the right one.
Maroomba, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think he moved up to set. He played the drum set, but the timpanis were always cool. It had that drama, that boom 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 boom, and it kind of reminded me of like Harry Potter World or Lord of the Rings or one of those, that's got that theatrical kind of vibe to it.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I love playing it so much just because you'd have like you could do like the big entrances, or you could just be the transition from one scene to another, or just the little notes here and there that would just like, wait, he did what now? And it was
Yeah.
or did you hear that? And it was so much fun just playing it. And then so I was also the timpani that I was on. They were on a cart that would go around the field when we left. And what I would do at every football game at the end of it is I would turn and I do a princess wave to the crowd just for the kicks and giggles of it. So that way they could have a little bit of interaction with us during that time.
That's awesome. That's hilarious. So, knowing a little bit of your story, and you and I were introduced after high school, and we'll get to that. But I guess in high school, you got involved in the youth group over at Christ. How did that come to be?
Yeah. So the youth group at Christ was about Alex Owen, one of my good friends. I
Okay.
had stepped away from the church that I was attending at the time,
Hmm.
just due to a couple things with the music program that really hurt me. And then he kind of reached out to me one day. I was like, "Hey man, are you going to church right now?" And I was like, "No, I'm not attending any church right now." So he invited me to Christ, and that was how I was able to get back into church, and that was how I really just started to fall in love with the church again, just to really get back into it and start the development of my faith as my own,
Hmm.
because I was raised in a non-denominational church or a Baptist church, and then that was a Methodist church, and I didn't at that age I didn't really think anything of it with different denominations at all. I was just like, I'm back in a church, and that's where you needed to be. You need to be in
Yeah.
a church, and it was such a good time to grow with him, to go with Eric and Alex, and my younger brother came on for a bit, and just
Yeah.
the Sorianos came here and there, and we were just we were just able to really grow together and just do that when we weren't playing marching band or pulling all nighters playing video games during those high school years.
Yeah. So what year was that? What grade did you start to get involved at Christ United Methodist?
Uh, I started getting involved at Christ around probably 2009, 2010. My junior, senior year of high school is when I got really
Okay.
back into it.
Okay, and that's such a testament to to young folks being intentional. You know, I can't. We were talking Brooke Kitchens, who's one of your dear friends. We're all kind of in the same friends group. She and I were just talking, or maybe it was Brandon before that. But I was just talking with somebody the other day, talking about how we cannot imagine what it would be like to be a high school student or a middle school student now.
Oh,
And in today's context. And so, yeah, it was hard enough to be intentional to invite friends to come hang out at church or youth group back then. Now I think that's even more pronounced, you know, more higher acceleration in that it's culturally there's been such a shift in our country. Um, uh, but to your point, the being intentional to invite, you can never underestimate the power of an ask or an invitation.
oh, absolutely. Because I mean, I could have said no and just went about it, but I knew that he had my best interest at heart too, because he was one of my good friends, and he just was like, "Hey, come to church, come check it out. If you don't like it, that's cool, but
Yeah.
just come check it out." And really, just getting the invitation means the world. And I mean, to this day, just with anything that's going on, just due to my the FSHD, getting an invite to anything means the world, because it's already a little bit isolating as it is due to
Mm-hmm.
what I can and can't do. But I mean, if you invite me to something, I will figure out how to be there, just because I have an
Yeah.
array of chairs just to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one thing that I love about you. You have not allowed the FSHD to limit you or your lifestyle of the way that you go about life and integrate in community and even to dampen your extracurriculars and all the things that you're interested in. That refusal to let the disease define you is incredible to me. So you started going to Christ United Methodist to their youth group. Is that where you met Caitlin and the rest of that bunch, or did you already know her through marching band, or how did she come into the equation?
I already knew Caitlin and Alex, and I knew Alex and Eric from middle school, and then we were friends from middle school to high school, so I knew them. But then Caitlin, I knew her through marching band beforehand, but then she then and then her being there was just kind of a bonus.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And it's the other thing before we move on from that I think is really cool to point out is you and Alex were friends before he made the invitation. I mean, there was already trust. There was history and relationship that had been established. I'm certain, I would have to believe that played into your willingness to accept the invitation and to wade off into something new, to try something new.
Uh, Absolutely. That's one thing that I've been pretty big on, is just being able to trust someone, and
Mm-hmm.
to understand where they're coming from when they ask me that. That's one thing that, as someone with a disability, limited capability, is that when you don't trust someone to do something, you're not gonna ask them to do anything or ask them to figure out how to help you. Just through just from the common knowledge, essentially, or just having that bond with them, because you just don't know what they're able to do.
So trust is probably the most valuable piece of relationship. But as a person with defined capabilities, or in some degree, I guess, limited capabilities, so that trust factor then is amplified, which makes sense now that you say that, because as I think back just right now, whether it be on mission trips or retreats or hunting or all the different things, adventures you and I have been on together. There is kind of that same cycle of people that if they're around, if there's certain of us who are around, you ask us more than anybody else. I guess that goes back to trust.
Yeah, absolutely. Just because, I mean, through the time that you spend with someone, you're able to build that bond, and you're able to know what they're able to do. And it's not so much like a prejudgment, but like just when you look at someone and you're looking around the room, see, I'm on the floor. I don't know who can help me up right now. And then you see your people, your person. You're like, all right, there's my people. I know what they can. I know they can help me out. I know they can get me where I need to be. And that's just kind of how that played into that.
Yeah. Yeah. So when our paths crossed for the first time, it's one of my favorite pictures, actually. I've got a picture of you somewhere. I mean, you, I think pretty much fresh out of high school, and 18 years old and young, and
oh yeah,
it's one of my favorite pictures. It's the night that you put your hands on the wall at first there. You know the picture I'm talking about?
I know exactly the picture because it's the one where I don't have a mustache. It's the one that you still have hair.
Yeah, I've got hair on my head, and you don't have hair on your face.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember. So, kind of building off mine and Brooke's conversation from last week. We had launched that. Michael Hernandez, who was at Christ, was part of that team that launched the Space Between with us, and so you all, you and the Cholans and Caitlin, and eventually Brett, the Sorianos for a season, came over, and that was when we were first kind of getting the Space Between going, and at the time I remember realizing that there was something different about you, the intentionality and relationship, the focus on people. It was interesting to me. Anybody that approached you, they were wanting to know more about you, and you have this way of constantly keeping a conversation about whoever it is that you're interacting with. And that was, that's something that was built into you when you were just young, super, super young. And that's one of my first impressions of you. And then from there, we began to build a relationship. And what you told me that night was, I just want you to treat me normal. And I said, well, be careful what you ask for, because I tend to dish out a lot of crap to people that I treat normal. And you were like, bring it,
Oh yeah.
And so the fun started from there. But so through those college years, what role did authenticity and relationship play in your life? Like out of high school, kind of out into the real world, if you will. What role did relationship, authenticity, and community play in your life in that season?
That played a community and authentic relationship played a huge role in my life during that time, especially when I transitioned from Middle Georgia State to Middle Tennessee State. That was pretty huge because I left my community here, you, Brooke, Charity, Connor, Alex, and Eric, and I went off on my own for the first time. And having built that relationship with you guys and building that trust with you guys, I relied on that a lot during my time at MTSU, especially that first semester when I didn't know anybody at all. And I know God sent a couple people to my life during that time that were really the saving grace at MTSU, because just not knowing anyone and them coming into my life, and I still talk to them to this day. My good friend Zion and McKinney and Justin Jones, both of them are sweet, dear friends to me. and I'm sure they don't know the impact that they had on me during that time. But from then, I was able to branch out through a couple of different organizations on campus up there. Omega Delta Psi was a audio engineering and business organization that I joined, and from there I was able to just create lasting friendships and networking with other individuals in that industry. And then the Westlake Foundation at MTSU was a huge factor in my life, just because I couldn't find a home church up there. I went church hunting for a hot minute, and I just couldn't find a church at all. But the Wesley Foundation, that became my church, because we were able to meet Tuesday. When we did events Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so during the week, and I was able to meet with a group of like-minded people and able to go out and do life with them and just love on one another, do mission trips together, grow together. But at the same time doing that, I still made time to come back down to Warner Robins every 5-6 weeks just to touch in with y'all, see how y'all are doing, hang out, have some lunch, and have a meal, and just continue building that relationship and just really doing life with you guys too. So now that I'm back in Warner Robins, I still have my community up in Tennessee, and I have my community here. So it's just now that I have two communities that I built over the years that are just really good groups of people.
Yeah, and during those middle Tennessee State years, you were the master of surprise. So you were. It made me happy and it made me angry, because you would leave from up there and not tell anybody that you were coming to Middle Georgia, and you would time it where you'd leave after class in Tennessee and you would show up on a Thursday night right as we were getting ready to start Space Between, and which made me incredibly happy. But then the dad in me, dad mode, was like, what if something had happened? What if? And we wouldn't have known that you were on the way. Like, does anybody know that you're traveling? And you're like, nope.
I had to have some fun with that, and I had to. I had to get y'all from time to time with that.
Yeah, and so building those relationships. It's interesting that you talk about the importance of the Wesley Foundation, because what would you say to anybody that's on a campus, a college campus, that's not, no matter what year they are in college, that's not connected to a campus ministry? What would you say to them?
They definitely should get plugged into one. I mean, I really wouldn't frame it as a, hey, you need to plug into here. It's a, hey, come have a lunch with us, because that's what I would do a lot. Because we would do Wednesday lunches, and for several of my friends who, they weren't Christians, I would invite them to lunch at Wesley Foundation. I just said, hey man, we're having some lunch. Come get a free meal, and just come hang out, see what we're about. And I mean, the meal was kind of like the selling point, because starving college kids were just like,
oh yeah. Yeah.
Which like, so they came for the meal, but even though I invited them, we still had the campus minister, the assistant campus minister, and then just all the friends at Wesley Foundation would just love on them while they were there, and they would just build a relationship with them too. So now, the business organization that I was a part of, Omega Delta Psi, they now still continue to have a relationship with the Wesley Foundation, and they still do collaborative events with each other to this day, 6 years later.
Awesome. So the leaders of those two organizations, as far as MTSU, those leaders are in relationship with each other now.
Well, the Omega Delta Psi is student ran. It's not even it doesn't have any like faculty leaders or anything. It's just through me being intentional with the Wesley Foundation and bringing them over, and then a couple other friends were kind of doing the same thing I was. We were able to build that relationship with them, and we were able to be a bridge to them in order to kind of connect them to the Wesley Foundation and just love on them.
Gotcha. And during those years, you had Wiley with you. Talk about Wiley a few minutes.
Yeah. Oh man, I miss that dog. Wiley was such a good dog. He stunk up a room, that's for sure. He knew how to time his farts, that's for sure. Just to kind of get a little
Oh my gosh.
a little TMI right there. But man, Wiley, I got Wiley in 2009, and oh man, he was a good companion dog. Just the bond. That's the one thing that people don't realize about the bond between a boy and a service dog is like magnified to a huge degree because the dog is always with you wherever you go. And so I had him at high school, I had him at college, and then really it was just we had such a good time because we would go on walks in the woods. I'd take him into different stores with me, and he would pick stuff off the ground for me. He would help me up because back then I could pull myself up into a sitting position with him, and then from there I could stand up using him. And then, oh man, he also saved my life one time at MTSU. Actually, legit saved my life because
wow.
Yeah, it was my first semester at MTSU, and it just started snowing, and I hadn't seen snow in forever, and it was like 2 a.m. And I walked outside barefoot and in my tank top and shorts, just because I didn't really think anything of it, but I slipped and fell, and my door was closed, and I was like good 15, 20 feet away from it, and so I was able to call him over and pull myself up onto him, and then was able to go right back over, scoop myself inside the house, and get back inside where it was nice, safe, and warm. But just how he was able to listen to me and to understand what I needed and to get me there, that was so good and so huge.
Yeah, I remember you telling me one time that you didn't think you would have been able to go up to MTSU if not for him. Like having Wiley with you opened that door that would allow you to go up and live on your own and go to school and do all the things that you really, really wanted to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I guess that's a pretty good segue, talking about dogs. So, unfortunately, you lost Wiley. What year was that?
I lost Wiley on the timing of this podcast, too. I lost Wiley 7 years ago. No, 2015. So 8 years ago tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Sorry, dude. I didn't know that.
No. I didn't know. I wasn't necessarily paying attention, but yeah, so I know the podcast will come out a little bit later, but tomorrow being October 31st, 8 years ago is when I lost him. And then from there, that was a big turning point in my life because I know we were talking about to talk about dogs for a little bit, but during that time, was when I kind of became like a functioning alcoholic for a little bit. Just because not having him and being so far from home, it really just did a number on me in terms of that. Just because, the night he passed away, I felt it in my heart, and I was just a mess that night. But then after several months had passed, and you mentioned that Kimber was about to have another litter. I cleaned up real quick, and I was like, all right, it's game time now. And then because that was when the summer before you had invited me to go with you to pick up Ruby out in Missouri, and that was so much fun. And that was just seeing those dogs work really just changed everything for me, and really just put my life on a different trajectory too, because if not for that, I wouldn't be I don't think I'd be doing a lot of the outdoor stuff I'm doing right now because of that invite and seeing those dogs work, and then just watching how you worked with Ruby and just getting to be a part of that, that was so much fun and so good.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful natural segue kind of into your Westlake Outfitters work, but the dogs have been a key piece, and even that is relational, right? So, um, excuse me, for those of you who are listening or watching this that don't know, so when I was still living in Georgia, way back, I don't know what year it was. A friend of mine from here in Middle Missouri, uh, his dog, good dog, Kimber, Jake Frink, Jake's good dog, Kimber, Jake and Kelly, was having a litter of puppies. And so Jake's good dog, Kimber, was out of our friend Tim Rost's good dog, Lucy. Lucy's the matriarch of that line. And this whole friends group up here, Stan Freak and George Weberg and there's this kind of spider web. We talk about the importance of authenticity and relationship and community with people, but that the same is true through these dogs. And so Tim's good dog Lucy had a litter, and Kimber was of that litter, and Jake and Kelly ended up with Kimber, and so then Kimber and our friend Dan Lacey, his good dog Gus, had a litter, and I was fortunate enough to get a female out of that bunch, and so that's Ruby. A lot of you who follow along and we're friends, have been friends, or are friends now. Most everybody that knows me knows Ruby, and so when Ruby's litter was ready to go home, of course, I was living in Georgia. You had graduated from college and were home, or were you still living in Tennessee?
I was home for the summer. From
Okay.
Tennessee, because that was 2015.
2015. So when the pups were ready to go home, I had to make a road trip, and Hayden is always down for a good time. So spontaneity sometimes can be your middle name, and so I invited him to ride with me, and we hopped in the truck and drove out here to pick up Ruby. And if I remember correctly, they had a going home party. So everybody who had a puppy from that litter was invited over to Jake and Kelly's, and Jake and Stan did a big cook. They cooked a bunch of meat, smoked a bunch of meat, and had all the sides. And it was just a big going home party. And Cookie, Cody from Dive Bomb Industries had a pup out of that litter, and there was a whole bunch of people. That was a good scene. That was a fun night, getting everybody together and picking up those pups. So yeah, you were there from the beginning of that. And you remember she cried the whole way home. She cried for 13 hours straight.
Yeah, that was when we could hear. She wasn't in the back seat. She was in the bed of the truck, and we could hear her all the way back there.
Yeah, she was in the camper shell back in the back, and she yipped and howled the whole way home. So anyway, the next year, Jake and Dan crossed those two dogs again, Kimber and Gus, and so your good dog Hurley is a full sister to my Ruby, but just 1 year removed, 1 year later.
Yep.
And so when we knew that Kimber took, and we knew there was going to be a litter of puppies, that was in that time you had lost Wiley and were grieving in that, and you had that experience up here at Midway picking up Ruby, and I just kind of tossed out there, hey, there's another litter available. Are you interested in a dog? And you did not hesitate. You were all about that, and so we put in, and Jake saved you a dog, and the rest, I guess, is history as far as Hurley. But that did open a door for you. You want to talk about that, kind of the door that opened a good high caliber gun dog, and the doors that opened, and kind of the segue into your love of the outdoor life.
Yeah, just getting to receive Hurley from from Jake was just a big life changer, because then, my life just switched from being strictly about the live entertainment industry to now, oh shoot, I've got a dog I need to take care of again. And this was my first time with a puppy too. I got Wiley when he was 18 months old, so he was already fully trained. And then I got Hurley at 8 weeks old, and I was like, what am I getting into? Because I remember I probably blew your phone up so much, just with like, what do I do? What do I do? She did this. What the crap am I supposed to do? And then I had a couple books that I read that I probably should have been reading my audio engineering books, but instead I was reading duck hunting books and dog training books. And so that just slowly switched gears in my head, because even though I was still doing live entertainment work, now I was doing gun dog training work, and I was just doing that kind of work now. And through that, I've been able to train her to do things I also needed to do around the house, like pick up stuff for me that I dropped. Like she can pick up my phone for me. She can pick up the remote, my hats, just different things around the house like that. And then just having fun with her too. And hunting her. We haven't gone hunting in about a year or two, just because last year, year before, I broke my shoulder, so that kind of shifted gears in what I was able to do. But just being able to hunt with her and just have her in my life has just been a lot of fun. Just because dogs are so good, and they're so genuine, and like you look at them and they look back at you and they know what you want and you know what they want, and you're able to just go out and do life with them like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that really opened. So you began at first a blog. You called it Down to Westlake, but Westlake, it came from even the blog, the original blog, and that Down to Westlake project, which morphed into Westlake Outfitters, and is still very much a work in progress, came from Hurley, right? So talk through that.
Yeah. So the Westlake whole project came from Hurley, and came from this dirt road down that locals only know, because as you're driving down Highway 96, you'll just look off and see a dirt road and think anything of it. But people who know it, they're just like, oh, that's where you go to just get away from life. And you go down that road, there's the WMA out there, there's hunting land, there's all these different creeks and all these just different hangout spots to be. And then I would take Hurley down there, and we'd do training down there at the boat launch. We would do training in the fields and just different things like that. And then that was also where I spent a lot of my time talking to God and talking life with other people and growing relationship with people. But just through Westlake, that just brought out the idea about Westlake Outfitters and the Down to Westlake blog. And so I launched the blog just as COVID was about to start. I launched it because the whole world was shutting down, and it was a way that I was able to kind of keep the outdoors alive, essentially. And just to show people with limited capabilities, how to get outdoors and how to really just not let your disease, whatever you have, define yourself, define what you're able to do, and just figure out different ways to get outdoors. And so one way that I haven't featured yet, but I'm going to show with my friend Matt Carey, one of the first ways he got me out to a duck blind with a whole bunch of gear. Because the first time we went hunting with Hurley, we put me in a kayak, put all of the gear on top of me, and then
is that when Ben Williams?
Yeah, that was when Ben Williams went with me, and that was when he
drugged you. Yeah,
and then Ben watched Hurley and carried some of the gear, but Matt drug me about a quarter mile, half mile out to the blind through the water in the woods, and to get set up. And that really was just the the turning point of just being able to figure out how to get outdoors and how to do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I can't walk over uneven terrain, but through that, you just find people who want to do life with you, and you're able to build that relationship with them, and you're able to trust them and to understand that they have your best interest in heart, and you're able to look at them and they know what you need, or you're able to talk with them and figure things out, and they genuinely want to get you outdoors too and get you involved too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when you're actually friends with people, I mean, you genuinely care about a person. It's not an inconvenience. I mean, it's not a detraction, or it doesn't make things. It doesn't dampen the time. It actually amplifies the good time, because it's the exact opposite of what most people would think. Most people would think, as an able-bodied person, to help someone with limited capabilities to get into remote places to enjoy the outdoors or work their dog or take part in a hunting experience, you would think, most people think, that would be a detraction, that would make things, it would take away from the experience. And it's actually the opposite. It's the exact opposite. It increases, it makes the time more special, more memorable, to make those memories. And so, just as you were talking, I was thinking about the way that God works through relationships in this beautiful kind of way that, so, you lost Wiley, you got Hurley, she goes through training, you take an interest in trying to get her outdoors, so you begin going and working her down at Westlake, and then you start to blog about that as a person with limited capabilities and getting outdoors and all of those things. That blog then hones your writing skills, which you're an incredible writer. You're an amazing writer, truly gifted. But through that blog, that gift kind of comes to light, and you begin to kind of hone that through the Down to Westlake blog, with the relationships that you had built in Middle Tennessee with Matt and some of these other guys. He is a phenomenal photographer. How can people find Matt?
You can find Matt through his Instagram handle of
What is that?
_the _field, or
Okay.
he has a website called www.themcimage.com.
Okay, so _the field.
No, of
_the field.
Yeah.
So of the field separated by underscores.
Yep. And that comes from one of the Bible verses that he's very prominent about. Because I know it's not Romans 1:20. I believe it's not Romans 1:20, but it might be in Genesis that he was talking about that. But that's where he has that from, because he also comes from the biblical background too, and just wanting to incorporate and show the love of Jesus Christ through the outdoors as well.
Gotcha. He is a phenomenal photographer, and I follow him and have been seeing the doors are starting to open now where he's going on. I mean, he's documenting and doing some content for major outdoor industry, players in the outdoor industry. But it's just beautiful to me, through relationships, through dogs, through relationships, through spending time with Hurley down at Westlake, running drills, starting to blog about that, crafting and honing your writing skills, relationships with Matt. And then this door opens and you start writing for Split Read and Slayer and some of these other outlets. You want to talk a little bit about your work with Split Read?
Yeah. So my work with Split Read, I'm behind on it a little bit, because I took some time off to try my hand at Oregon State for a little bit, and that didn't pan out. But my time with Split Read has been so good, and really informative just to learn more about the industry through them. Because the way I found out was just they put a message out on Instagram for 24 hours, just to say, hey, we're hiring to see if you for writers. And I was like, shoot. So I sent in my info. I connected with some people, and now I'm doing some really good writing with them, and I've been able to really to meet some people that I never thought I'd meet, and just to connect with them, and to okay, I'm no longer fanboying over these people like a lot of people do when they first get into the industry. And they're like, oh, that dude taking some cool photos, that dude doing this, and now I'm actually working alongside them and getting to get to learn from them too. Because there's a guy that I connected with through Split Read called Sean Swearingen, and he is a phenomenal writer and a good outdoorsman. And he's actually from Oregon, so we got to connect a little bit about that. But just how
Awesome.
just to learn some writing skills from him and to build that relationship with him, because I actually got to interview him for one of the pieces that I've written, and just to talk about a little bit about how to conduct yourself outdoors when you're around other people and all of that, and just it working with Split Read has definitely enhanced the writing abilities and the network abilities that I've been able to have, and just it's been so good to be able to work with them.
So Split Read is kind of a waterfowl, specifically waterfowl platform. And then what are you doing with Slayer? So Slayer is a duck call company, is that right?
Slayer they're branched out from duck calls. They're now doing they've done turkey calls, and they have a new line of elk calls that they've been really pushing lately, and that have been so good. And they're really focusing on the calls right now with what they're doing. And I've just done some writing with them, and I've done a podcast episode with them.
Awesome. Where can folks find that if they want to hear
it? They can find that episode at any streaming platforms they can find, and it's just Slayer Call of the Wild.
And Call of the Wild.
Call of the Wild.
Oh, no of.
No of.
Man, I'm messing everything up tonight. I've got the underscores out of order. I'm putting extra words in things. So the podcast is Slayer Call the Wild, and then is it then just look for your name or?
Yeah, I believe it's episode 4 that I'm on, and it's one with Matt and I, and we're just talking about how we got into hunting and just how Matt and I work together in the outdoors.
Great. So Split Read, people can go and find you and read some of the articles that you've written. And then through Slayer Call the Wild, they can listen to a podcast that you and Matt were on together.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So you were sharing with me that you've made this shift, this intentional shift from kind of a rebranding and this shift with Westlake down to Westlake, and you're in this process of transitioning to Westlake Outfitters. Let's talk about that a little bit. What is Westlake Outfitters? What's your kind of focus? What are you hoping to do through Westlake Outfitters?
Yeah, Westlake Outfitters is going to be, not only is it going to have the blog where I talk about just the different things that you can do, it's also going to just incorporate just where you're able to do things and how you're able to do things, in terms of like different state parks that I've been to, how I rate them with what I'm able to do, what you're able to do, and then accessibility wise, how much that would go, just with like state parks with that, then campgrounds, and just really on a local level with that, and just slowly but slowly grow it to a bigger level as I travel from state to state, and just showing people how to do that, as well as eventually different outfitters that I go and hunt with, and just see how they're able to work with me, and how they would handle me in the outdoors. Just because I remember one time I was looking to go do a hunt with an outfitter, and I called them up just to see, hey, I have this going on. How would you get me out there? And they're like, oh, don't worry about it. We'll get you out there. Well, don't worry about that at all. And I'm like, no, how are you going to get me out there just so I know how I'm going to be taken care of in that manner? Because it's one thing that you say you can get me out there, but it's nothing. Okay, how are you going to do it? Just so I'm not manhandled around. And I know
Yeah.
that's one thing that a lot of people with disabilities tend to worry about a little bit, because it's not that we're fragile or anything. It's just like one wrong move can kind of set us back a good bit. And so
Yeah.
it's mainly just having the intentionality about it, where not really like a step by step basis, but no, we have a side by side that we're going to set you on. We're going to drive you out. We're going to wait a minute. You can either sit in the blind while we set up. We can set a chair up outside the blind while we set up. If you're able to help set up, just kind of just little things like that, instead of just, hey, we're going to get you out there. Don't worry about it.
Gotcha. So it'll be a platform for people with limited capabilities to come look and see where you've been, what places you would recommend, maybe places that you would recommend to stay away from. I don't know, but the blog will be there. Don't drop the blog, dude. The blog is legit. Please keep the blog alive.
The blog's not going anywhere. I plan on keeping that alive.
Good, good, good. Um, so, yeah, so then transitioning again, and this is probably as exciting as anything that we'll talk about. So, you're recently engaged?
Yes, I am, and it's been
Yes, you
so good.
are.
It's been
Yes, you are.
so good.
So, yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit. Who are you engaged to?
I'm engaged to my wonderful fiance, Casey Morris, and
Yeah.
she has been such a blessing in my life, and that has been such a good time, just to be with her and to grow with her and to lead her and to love her and cherish her. It's it's nothing I've ever experienced before. Even just dating her before we were engaged, that was just a whole different level, because she was so intentional and so authentic about and genuine about everything, that it was just, we had such good open communication all throughout everything, and we were intentional about that too. Just keeping that flow between us, so we're able to just grow and understand each other, and there hasn't really been a bad moment at all.
Yeah. 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 So, how did you guys meet? I love this.
We met on Instagram
Yeah.
through a page called Christians Who Curse Sometimes. And
I'm a Christian, but I cuss a little.
yeah, just about that. And they were doing they called it a meat market, where guys would send in their info, a picture, and 3 questions they wanted the girls to ask, girls to answer, and then just wait back for your matches, as the people who were running the site would do all the matching, as the people who were interested would reach out. And so I got a handful of matches. Uh, However, Casey, throughout all of that, there were like eight or nine matches. 7 or 8 of them were just standard paragraph or so. Casey wrote me a novel about everything, and I was like, I want to meet her, because instead of just like, so there are 3 questions, so maybe like 8 lines total. She sent me about 50 lines, and I was like,
Wow.
whoa, okay. She was very detailed about everything, and like, because one of the questions I asked was, what is a bucket list destination that you want to go to? And hers is Peru, because
Okay.
she's very passionate about traveling, and Peru is her top one on the list right now. And she wrote so much about that place, and I was just like, man, I want to go to Peru now. So I reached out. So we got matched. We got matched together, and then we just started talking for 2 weeks, and then couldn't take her out on a date quite yet, because she had to fly to Houston with her grandpa for a family thing. And then she came back, and we went out on our first date 3 weeks ago, a year ago. So October 6th was our first
Wow.
date, and we've been together ever since.
So how did she handle the FSHD? At what point in the process did you let her know? How did all that play out?
She actually figured all that out on her own a little bit. So
Okay.
she, before she reached out a little bit, she went and did a little Instagram stalking.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
as anybody should. Yeah.
yeah, and she already saw that I kind of had a little bit of that going on, and
Yeah.
that didn't phase her at all. She was just like,
Yeah.
"Let's go for it."
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And so what has that been like? I mean, the dating process, you talk about encouraging people with limited capabilities to get outdoors and to do these. I mean, some of the stuff that you do, people would consider to be maybe extreme, some of the places that you go and the things that you do. But what about encouraging people just in the day in day out? What was that like? What is the dating process like? Um, for a person with limited capabilities.
It's very challenging
Yeah.
before her, just because in today's culture, in today's society, everyone's about the dating apps now, and all of that, and that's just a place that I don't want to wade into in terms of
Hmm.
it's not a healthy way to learn and grow a relationship at all.
Okay.
Um, and even though, yeah, I did meet her through Instagram, it wasn't through like an app at all. It was just a little match thing real quick.
Hmm.
And I honestly wasn't thinking anything about it because it was just
Hmm.
like I had nothing to lose. I threw my info in and then he
Yeah.
did it for me. So, really, I just want to don't lose faith and hope in, that there's someone out there for you, because
Man, that's good.
there definitely is someone out there for you. It just might take time for them to come around.
Yeah.
Just because I know you and we've been praying for Casey, for someone to come into my life in this role for years. And I mean,
Years. Yeah. Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
And, just seeing all my good friends get married, getting relationships, have kids. And,
Hmm.
I'm still sitting on the sideline like, hey, God, where's my lady now?
Hmm.
Where's someone I can be with, And then shit, it was just like I was at the point where I wasn't thinking anything about it, and hey, he was like, "Hey, here you go," and
Yeah.
I was like, "Whoo!" So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that,
And that yes, we have been praying. I mean, I can remember one of our first real conversations, after a few months. I don't remember if we were at M25, or I would have to believe we were on a mission trip or on a retreat or somewhere out of the normal rhythms of ministry. But it was just us, talking and visiting, and you shared with me, way back. I mean,
hmm
10 years ago or more, that was a concern, and that was a desire of your heart, um, for somebody to see you for who you are, um, and for a mate, somebody that you could do life with and enjoy life with and love and be loved. And so, yeah, for years and years, we have been covering Casey in prayer. We just didn't know it was Casey. And
absolutely,
but that, yes, so that's a good word for anybody, capable bodied or limited capabilities, to not lose hope, to not give up, to stay the course, um, to keep your doors open, to stay prayed up, I think, is probably a good word in that. um, and the beautiful thing, so I'm all about relationships anyway. The part, and this did not dawn on me. I mean, I had met Casey, been around Casey several times. I'd never made the connection that Casey is Reese's sister.
yeah,
So Reese,
no,
so Reese,
cousin,
oh, cousin. Okay, sorry. So see, I was even wrong there. So cousin, but I had no idea that those two were related, and Reese had been he had come to the Space Between for a season through the Christ Chapel Warner Robins
Yep.
connection, and loved that guy. Think the world of Reese, and
He's a good guy.
But had met Casey and hung out with you all a few times before I made that connection. So even in the periphery through the web of relationship, there was connection there. So so the dating process, has that been a joy? Have you had to learn kind of as you all go and develop kind of plans, and how's that been?
We definitely had to. It's been a learning process, especially in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Just through my FSHD did have a short progression early on in our relationship, and so I use a chair a lot now versus just walking around normally. But I use a chair when we go out a lot, just because that definitely, as much as I don't like using the chair, it definitely opens up doors where we're able to do things and where I'm able to be around a lot of people. And we just work out how, getting out of the chair to stretch my legs in order so that way I'm able to just keep my legs good and healthy. But just what we're able to do, because like our third date, we went to the fair, and that was where I got to break the tank out from the good people at Action Track Chair, and able to just walk with her on around there, and then just the places we've been able to go with it, and just because we went down to Savannah for the day one time, and we went to Skidaway Island, and just through the marshes there and through the different tree roots. Like if I was to go out there right now, I would within like 3 minutes I would already been on the ground. But through that tank, we're just able to just go and have fun and just be a couple and grow together and learn together.
Yeah. So for those of you who are listening that are not familiar, so Hayden, you have a traditional power chair, which is really cool. That sucker is so fast.
Yeah.
It's kind of an indoor traditional power chair.
Yep.
But you also have you've also got an outdoor chair, and as with anything you do, you don't do anything halfway. So this thing is it built by Action Track? Is that the name of the company?
Action Track Chair.
Action Track Chair. So if you're listening to this, take a moment and just Google Action Track Chair and lay your eyes on this thing. But this sucker, you call it the tank, which is the right name. But I mean, it's a track chair built for remote places. This sucker is bad to the bone.
It really is, just with all the capabilities I can do with it. We took it through the swamps down in the marshes down at Skidaway Island, and then taking it to the beach has been fun too. Because just to be able to take it on the beach and just go out into the water with it, and then sit on the footrest and just have the waves come over me instead of knocking me over. I'm just sitting on the footrest, feeling the water come over my legs and into my body. That was just so sweet to have. And then last year I took it turkey hunting, and just to go hunting with it. That's been that's what I wanted to use it for originally, but just through being able to take it to the fair, take it out to these different places, just it opens the door up so much instead of I get to look cool while doing it, because
yes, you do.
Because I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been stopped while I have it and just like, dude, that's so cool. That is bad. Where did you get that? And just all that, and just not only be like an ambassador for the company, but just be like a witness and a testimony to people that I got something that I can't walk with, but I'm not letting it hold me back, and I'm using this chair to go out and do normal things. And there are people who come up to me who they ask where I got it because they have a relative that really needs something like it, and they're able to see that, even though they're like they can get out of a power chair, but to get into this type of power chair to get around the yard and whatnot, that's a huge thing. So it opens the world up, not only for me, but opens the world up for other people too.
Yeah. Yeah. And does it take you from seated to standing straight up like your recliner and some of your other?
Yeah, it does. It stands up. That version is called the track stander, and it'll take you from the seated position to standing up, and then
straight up.
And then that's really cool too, just because it's for those people who can't stand up at all. Just you strap your legs in and you put the vest on, and then you're able to stand up and be in a standing position to where you're. There's a change of about about 3 to 4 feet from sitting like near the ground to now you're standing up. There's a different view of life too, because that's one thing that people with like limited capabilities in their power chairs, they constantly like, it's not that they're looked down upon, but you look down at them instead of looking straight at them. And so when standing up, you're able to like see a person face to face.
I think about some of my friends that I rodeoed with, who had tragic accidents in the arena and ended up paralyzed from the waist down, or to be able to be in a chair like that would allow them to come fully upright at a standing position would be incredible. And you had yours outfitted, so it's got a shooting platform. It's got a swing arm. Is that correct? Like a swing arm that you can, and a rest that you can put a shotgun or a rifle in?
Yeah, I've got the bipod mount, the swinging bipod mount on it, where I'm able to just have the gun right there. Then there's a gun rack on the other side where I can hold the gun right there while I'm traveling, so that way the gun doesn't move around at all. Then there's a utility rack on the back of it, so that way whenever I get a deer or if I have some gear that we need to take out, we just latch the gear onto the utility rack and go. And then I've also got an LED light on it for late nights and early mornings. And there's over 40 different things that you can customize with.
Wow.
And like my favorite thing to say, even though it's not useful for me right now, is there's a snowplow attachment for it, where you can where you can, like, for those people who are in the Midwest up north who need to plow the driveways or the streets or the sidewalk, put roll up into the snowplow attachment, hook it in, and then you can go plow your driveway easily.
Wow. And this sucker is on, for those of you that haven't seen it or didn't look it up, it's on like tank tracks. It truly is a track chair. You were talking about deer, it's a game changer. So you came up here 2020 or 2021, I can't remember, but just over your shoulder there, I can actually see your deer hide. So talking about getting outdoors, you came up, and you and Ben Williams came up. Our friend Kevin Yeager just went above and beyond, opened up his property, just doubled and tripled over backwards to accommodate you and us. And it's interesting, down in Georgia, you and I tried, I don't know how many years, we tried our best to get you a deer killed. And I thought it was hilarious. The day that you landed in St. Louis that morning, by that evening, you had harvested your first deer, and it didn't stop there. To have the deer processed and delivered, Kevin surprised you and kept the hide and sent the hide off and had it professionally tanned.
Oh yeah.
So nice, just incredible.
Yeah, I can't thank Kevin enough for what he did. And everyone else who was behind it, Stan and Jake and Tim, and just all of them Jerry, all of them who really just kind of came together to help it make it happen, was truly so good. And you talk about community right there. That's community for you too, out in Missouri, that you've been able to build over the years. And just even when I'm able to come out there to visit with them, and they're really good to just be intentional about coming to meet me too, and just talk with me and just catch up in life and see how everything's going on too with them. But then,
yeah, and they always ask about you, which makes my day. I mean, there's very seldom I bump into or talk to those guys and hanging out with those guys that they don't ask, hey, how's Hayden? What's he up to? You know, they're all delighted that you have found love and that you're getting married.
oh man,
So, so
that's so
that,
sweet.
yeah, yeah, but that is, you're right. That's a snapshot of authentic community. And I think about like that outing and the difference the track chair would have made. You know, now we got to figure out how to get that chair out here with you. I guess you and Casey can come and just trailer it out. But when it comes to chasing turkey or maybe harvesting another deer, maybe getting you into a place you've been with, we went out to Cody's
Yeah,
to shoot ducks. But that chair would open a door in a way that it would make things. It would certainly open a door.
yeah, because I mean, no more having to carry me up into the deer stand, and just things like that. I mean, really, all you'd have to do is just throw the blind over me, and we're good to go. That's another thing too. Just as both of us are getting older, that's something that I've just had on my mind and just thinking of. I want to keep all of us as healthy as long as we can. So, got to figure out how to make things happen. And so, with this chair, you're not getting wear and tear on your body. Other friends are getting wear and tear on their bodies either, and I'm able to just hop in.
Well, and you gained weight. That's another thing that I'll say. You over the years, you're not 110 pounds anymore. You've been lifting weights and you've been eating well, and
oh yeah,
and you have certainly gained weight. So, to pick you up and move you around physically, it's not terrible, but it's not comfortable for you. I mean, I think for me and Ben and different people, uh, my concern is always hurting you,
yeah,
or not handling things correctly that causes a shoulder to ache, or um, you know not prepping you when I sit you down so you don't have time to readjust, and then you end up sitting wrong and hurting, and
yeah.
just little nuances like that. The chair certainly opens up a lot of possibilities um, in a way to put you in the outdoors. But the Skidaway Island story, or down to Westlake, some of these places that you love where God speaks to your soul, to be able to get out, get away. On the engagement trip, did you take the track chair?
Absolutely.
Did you really?
We went up to Cloudland Canyon for that.
Okay.
I did that because Casey wants to go to all the Georgia State parks, and
Okay.
she has the park pass, and so we were able to do that. And I called Matt to come help me with that because he brought his wife with him, and we were able to get photos done. He was able to help with photos, but just with the whole thing of just getting in the track chair to do that, to go to the different places we want to go to find the spots to get to, that
Wow.
So the places we went, I wouldn't have been able to get to while hiking regularly, but with the chair, it definitely made it easy because then we're just having conversation like normal all throughout it. It's not like, hey, are you okay? Do you need this? Do you need that? Or having to pick me up off the ground. It's just we threw the gear on the back of the tank and we went.
Awesome. So when are you getting married? What's the date?
We're getting married June 8th of next year.
Yes, you are. June 8th, 2024.
Yes. It's been so good just getting to plan the wedding with her. That's been so much fun.
Yeah. Well, awesome, man. Thank you again for coming on. We have covered a lot. Thank you for vulnerability and transparency, for educating and equipping us, not just with kind of bringing us up to speed and becoming familiar with FSHD, which is a a rare form of muscular dystrophy.
Mm-hmm.
But then also just through the ages and phases and seasons of life, the importance of community, authentic, real community, and the role that your Christian faith played in each of those seasons, the connection with dogs and the outdoors, with God's faithfulness in bringing you and Casey together, and then the work that you're doing with Westlake Outfitters is really, really exciting. I don't know if you have been able to catch any of the other episodes, but I've got this dream. I've got kind of this dream that I'm working towards, to have like a Simplify retreat or a Simplify festival, and think like a youth or a college retreat, but for adults and families.
Oh, that'd be so good.
Yeah, and so my expectation is, by the time we get to that place, you can present. You can come up in your big bad track chair and teach and speak some, and Westlake Outfitters by then, I'm sure, will be rolling along. And so yeah, thank you. Just thanks a lot. So I end every episode by asking people one question. The name of this podcast is the Keep It Simple podcast. And so I'm just curious, like day in, day out, week in, week out, how do you keep things simple?
I keep things simple by loving God, loving my family, loving others, and then the rest is going to take care of it.
Amen, man. That's as good an answer as we have had yet.
Yes, sir.
So, awesome, dude. Thank you again. As always, if I can do anything for you, all you got to do is say the word, and we'll be home Christmas time. And I'm sure I will see you at Charity's wedding, I would imagine.
You absolutely will, and I can't wait to see you at the bridesmaid.
Yeah, bridesman, that's for sure. That will be a first for me. But
oh yeah,
love makes you do strange things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, brother. Y'all have a good night. I'll talk to you soon. I love you.
I love you too, brother.